Good evening, everyone. This is Rajat Kumar Naik, your GDSC lead and the facilitator of Compose Camp. So many of you who are present here, I guess you have attended the info session of Jetpack Compose, that is Compose Camp. So in that session, we discussed with you that we will be organizing 3 sessions with you. That is, this is the first session. So in this session, you will be having a hands-on experience with some of the topics that I shared with you last night. So we will be taking session on that, and Pradesh and IUC will be going through all the topics mentioned there. Hope you have a great experience throughout the session. I hope all of you who are present here are the next Android developers of our college, and I hope that you will keep updating with you that what all information we will be sharing in next couple of days. So our agenda is to discuss with you some topics of Jetpack Compose, and we will be sharing what all tasks and what you need to do to have a better grip on the topics that we discussed today. So uh, cheer up. So keep ready. Try to mark some important points. Although we will be sharing the slides with you, but still mention those points which are do you think that it will be important for me? So take a note with you. So I request IUC to start the session, and I hope you have a great learning experience. IUC, you can continue. Excuse me, IUC, your mic is off, I guess. Okay. Turn on your mic and you can continue.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Camp's second day. I hope you all had a great time at the spectacular bonfire on the first day. Let's get started with day 2. However, we must find shelter for us first before we can explore the camp. So let's start by building the tent. And that's our second day in this compost camp, setting up the tent. I, Ayushi Kumari, is going to lead you through the paths so that you can get your hands dirty with Jetpack Compose. So let's have a quick look at the different topics we are gonna cover in this session. Overview. First, we will learn about the basic building blocks of Jetpack Compose, that is rows and columns. Then we will be discussing modifiers using which you can do various customization with your different views. Then you will be shown how to build an image card using the concept of boxes. After that, we will dive into the world of different textiles in Jetpack Compose. Followed by this is the concept of state management, which plays a crucial part in the development process of Jetpack Compose applications. You will also learn about basic UI elements like text fields, buttons, snack bars, lists. So guys, let's get started with our camp. Now, let's take a look at how to create a composable activity. Its screen in the application would typically be either an activity or a fragment, each with its own lifecycle bindings. But thanks to Jetpack Compose and Compose Navigation Library, pre-built templates are now available. As you all can see, this is the first screen of building an application. Here you have to choose an empty compose activity, then your default Android version, and name of the project on which you're going to work, and then you are good to go. This is the first screen. You get on opening the main activity. As you can see here, there are no layout files. So bye bye XMLs. And the code snippet here is the default piece of code generated by Android Studio. Now let's discuss the annotations present in the default code template of the empty composable activity, as we have seen in the previous slide. The set content block here defines the activity's layout where composable functions are called. Composable functions are basically the building blocks used to create user interfaces for Android apps when developing with Jetpack Compose. We use something called previews, which are composable functions written specifically for the purpose of viewing our user interface in the editor without the need for running it on a real device. It is a very simple to create a preview in Compose. Simply annotate a composable function with preview annotation and call the composable function that you want to render on your editor or screen. Rows and columns. This is the most important part of Jetpack Compose as it decides the alignment and arrangement of elements on the screen. Let's get started with columns. Well, columns can be used for various alignments. It helps put the elements in perfect vertical orientation, stacking the child elements in y-axis. You can see the code snippet here. Well, you can clearly see the difference using columns and without using columns. When you don't, you can see the overlapping of the text compose and camp. But this problem can be resolved by using columns as shown in the second picture. So what about stacking the child elements in the horizontal axis? Let's see in the upcoming slides. Similar to column, row layout puts the child elements linearly in x-axis, and here is how the appearance differs with and without rows. Now coming to the topic of main axis and cross axis. Here, let me explain you the logic behind implementing the rows and columns. First, for columns, you can see there is a main axis and a cross axis. The main axis is the axis along which the elements are to be placed, while the cross axis is used for arrangements. Now, arrangements and alignments go side by side. For example, assume a particular column like shown here. The elements are to be placed along axis, which is the main axis. However, the spacing between them, between the boundaries and the views, etc., that is decided by the column axis. For a particular column, elements can be aligned horizontally and the arrangement can be done accordingly. Note that alignment and arrangement are different. In the code here, the text is aligned centered horizontally and arranged centrally. Hence, the resulting view, Compose Camp, is placed in the center of the screen using columns due to the configuration I just mentioned. This is a spacing chart we prepared for you. This will help you understand the concept of spacing in rows and columns. Majorly, the spacing are like equal weightage that spaces elements in equal spacing in the screen. For example, space around places children such that they're spaced evenly across the main axis, including free space before the first child and after the first child, but half the amount of space existing otherwise between two consecutive children. So in this way, you can try out different configuration by yourself. Remember, The more you try, the better you will get acquainted to it. Now you all can have a look at the chart for a while. Here, this is what is done for row. It's the same as column, but the only thing that changed is its shifting, like horizontal arrangements in place of vertical arrangements, and similarly, vertical alignments in place of horizontal alignments in case of rows. Now, this is the spacing chart along the x-axis for the row measure configuration. It's mostly same as the column one, just everything is now in x-axis. Here you can have a look at the chart for a while. Modifiers. Okay, so now let's get into the most important part of Jetpack Compose, modifiers. In Jetpack Compose, modifiers play a vital role in determining the appearance of the layout. What are modifiers? Modifiers can be considered as instances or objects which can be used to access various properties of a particular view and change it accordingly. It can be applied to any composable such as rows, columns, boxes, images, containers, to everything. We can set width and height of any composable to a fixed value with the help of modifiers, can change appearance, sizing, layout, apply padding, make our composable interactable, draggable, zoomable, and scrollable with the help of modifiers. Modifiers helps us to customize the composable according to our preferences. It helps us to manipulate its behavior, appearance, etc. Add in information like accessibility labels and process user input. Besides all of this, we can also do text styling using modifiers. Here, as you can see, these are the properties you can access and change as per your needs. You can zoom, drag, interact, etc. etc. Let's discuss some of the properties one by one. First is the width. This property, as the name suggests, is used to define width as the dimension. You can configure the width of the view using this. There is another thing called required width, which is used to fill the view with as much as it requires. Here is the result you get after running the code snippet shown in the previous slide. In case of first output, we had set the width to 390 dp, hence the text is visible. But in case of other output where we have used required width and set it to 600 dp, which exceeds the viewport of the device, hence the text is not visible. You all can write in the chat box what dp is. Now let's talk about offset and spacer. Offset. It can decide margins from the parents of a view. It helps us to decide an element's horizontal and vertical coordinates relative to its original position. It can be positive as well as non-positive. In a left to right context, a positive offset shifts the element to the right, while in a right to left context, it shifts the element to the left. Moving on to the spacer, it is used to give spaces between the lines or different views. As you can see, the two words jetpack and compose are stuck together in the offset output. To fix this, we use spacer to introduce a gap between the two, which is customizable. Padding and borders. They are used to give padding of specific amount to the view. Padding is basically used to offset the content of the view by specific number of pixels from either direction. For example, padding from left, right, top, and bottom. Using padding, we can create multiple borders to a view by applying a combination of multiple padding and border. As you can see in this slide, the red is the outermost border and after that dark gray and white row. However, the spaces between each border is due to padding. Till now, if anyone of you have any queries, feel free to put them in the chat box. Image card. Now let's take a look at how to create image cards in Jetpack Compose, in which we will make use of concept of boxes. Unlike the rows and columns, which organize children in a horizontal row or a vertical column, the box layout stacks its children on top of each other. The stacking order is defined by the order in which the children are called within the box declaration, with the first child positioned at the bottom of the stack. As with the rows and column layouts, box is provided with several parameters and modifiers that can be used to customize the layout. Here is the code snippet and next to it is the result to illustrate boxes. The different color layers and the text are actually individual elements that are stacked on top of each other to create a box. Card. Card is like a container in which we can place single composable. It has elevation property, which enables us to use shadow effect. We can also use border with a rounded corner. As the name suggests, an image card is basically a card with an image mounted on the top of it. Here is the code snippet in which we are creating the image card. The function image card is used to declare various parameters like painter, content description, title, and modifier. Now to design card layout, we make use of box and specify values for shape, elevation, brush, gradient, background, padding, content scale, etc. Now talking about some of the parameters, painter is used to display image for the image card from the image resource folder. Then there is title, which helps us to give a short and precise description to the image. For a value, all can have a look at the code snippet. Now, to set an image as the background for card, we have to specify the first element in the card with image composable and the next with the content which we would like to display on the card. When we place two composables in a card, there is no guidance on their arrangement. By default, when no guidance is provided for arrangement of composables, they are arranged in stack, which in this case, the image is displayed and on top of this, the rest of the elements are displayed in UI. Here, as you can see, the image card has been generated as per the previous code snippets, and the title property was set to the picture which shows up in the card. Now, you might be wondering what's the dark vertical gradient at the bottom of the picture? Well, it results from using the brush property. Here, we conclude our discussion regarding image card in Jetpack Compose, and now I would like Pradeep Kumar Jain to take over the rest of the session.
to our text like font, color, size, etc. This is a sample code for developing a composable code for text styling. Here, there is a composable function simple text, which consists text which is an inbuilt function of compose that is used to show a text UI. This simple text function can now be used anywhere in the code as it is now a composable. Let's look into more few of these text styles and analyze their working. So, this is the same image card made by IUC. However, there is a change. Did you notice? Yes, the text look different now. It has a new font and a new size. As you can see, the text composable function consists of various parameters like color, font size, font weight, and text align. Let's decipher them individually. The color, as it states, defines the color of the text. The size is used to set the size of the text. Font weight is used to give priorities or weight to the text as their requirements. Text align is used to align text in different positions of the screen. Here is the sample code. One more thing, the parameter used in image card is the font family. You have to declare it independently and then pass it to the parameter. So, in this way, we can play with different parameters and modify it more so that it look better as per our requirement. So, now let me ask you an interesting question. Suppose there is a text field and you are writing something inside it. What do you expect? Well, you may expect it to get updated, but that's not the case in Compose. In Compose, the state does not get updated and remain in same state. So now what to do to manage the state? Here there is a concept called state management. State in an app is any value that can change over time. Basically, it can be termed as a switch or a control variable of some sort. Some example of states are starting animation on buttons, being pressed or triggered, or interactive stickers. Composable function cannot change or update itself. Hence, they need declaration to update itself. Jetpack allows us to interact with function with the help of arguments. These arguments are representation of UI states. Whenever a state is updated or changed, recomposition takes place. So, you may think, what does the word recomposition means here? Well, the recomposition in Jetpack Compose refers to the process of calling our composable function again when the inputs associated with it changes. These inputs can be in the form of shared object, a state object, or simply a change in the variable. In short, recomposition means recalling a function with different inputs. State can be understood as a value with which a function can be called. To store the state of an element, the keyword remember is used. That is, enabling the state to retain its value until the end of the life cycle of the function. This remember keyword can be used for both mutable and immutable objects. Remember keyword helps to store the state of an object and access its value whenever the composer function is recomposed. Remember is often used along with a function named mutable state of function. Mutable state of function is just a function that defines a value which can change and from which compose will automatically observe change to the value. Here is an example of working state. Here, a function color switch is defined, which take a modifier as a parameter. This function changes the background color whenever the background is clicked. Within the function, a variable color is declared as an object of mutable state and is assigned a default value yellow from the color class. When the function initially starts, it takes the value as its starting color. Next, a container is created using box function, which takes its modifier value from the one passed to the color switch function, and it contains a background. This box is set as clickable. This means the box the box act as a button and perform some operation when clicked. Here, when the background is clicked, it will update the value present in the color variable with some color options. Here, we have 4 screenshots of emulator running the above code snippet. Let's take a look at the yellow box here. Initially, it was yellow. When the user clicks the background, the color variable get assigned a new value. That is, the state is changed. After clicking on the background, suppose the value got assigned is peach color. Then the background picks the value and changes accordingly. After clicking the background again, the color variables get updated with a new value of, and so it continues like this. And this is how state can be used for making interactive and colorful UIs. Pretty amazing, isn't it? Moving on to the next topics, buttons, text field, and snack bar. Starting with buttons. Buttons in Jetpack Compose is an UI element that is used to take input from the user. The various elements of a button such as background, text, shape, and border can be customized. The button function takes 2 parameters. The first one is on-click function, which can contain the value or states that are to be updated when the button is clicked, or it can be used to display toast messages. The second part usually contains the text which is displayed in the button. The text can be customized further using different modifiers, font, colors, and so on. In the attached code snippet, a simple button is created using button function which looks something like this. Moving on to the next topic, we have text fields. What is a text field? Like buttons, text field is also an UI element which allow the user to enter text into the application. The boxes that take our email and password for signing into an app are text field. The various part of text fields can be used and customized similar to the buttons. Below are 2 attached images of text field designed differently for different purposes. The first box has a title, enter your name, which takes the user's name as an input. The second box is customized text field that has a mail icon or a hint for the user to enter their email. Next we have snack bar. What are snack bars? Snack bars are just like post messages but with greater usability. Snack bar provide brief messages about app processed at the bottom of the screen. It was recently introduced as a replacement for Toast with the Material Design Library. Being a part of Material Design Library, it allows us to customize messages displayed as pop-ups, which were not possible in Toast messages. Snackbar can also contain buttons, clickable icons, or clickable text that can perform any given task. Here is an example of snackbar containing a text. This snackbar can be used with different modifiers to customize it as shown in the attached snippet. Then we have list. What are lists? Lists are a collection of items. A list is used to display large number of entries in form of a row or column. This is used when the standard row or column fail to accommodate the number of items that are required to be sold. Hence, this can be used to show multiple items in a scrollable manner. These are various ways of implementing a scrollable list. For columns, we can use vertical scroll function within a standard column to load all the items at once. Using a lazy column is another method of displaying a list. A lazy column is vertical scrolling list that only composes and lays out the current visible items. It's similar to recycler view in the classical Android view system. Here, a scrollable column is implemented using vertical scroll method. A variable scroll state is declared as a state variable that will contain the current position of the scrollable column. It is then passed to the vertical scroll function to load all the items at once and update its value. Using a for loop, items numbered from 1 to 20 are displayed with the help of text function and different modifiers. All the elements are then displayed in a vertical scrollable manner. Another way of implementing a scrollable column is lazy column. This will be discussed in details in upcoming sessions. For now, let's just see its use. Here, lazy column takes input as items. Items function stores the element in structure way. Here, the value passed is 500. It means it will store number from 0 to 499 in it, separated by commas. And then within the text function, these elements are accessed using it keyword, along with some text formatting with the users of modifiers. All the elements are then displayed in a vertical scrollable manner. Let's discuss some benefit of lazy column over columns. Lazy column is more efficient way of implementing vertical scroll columns, whereas in standard columns, all the elements are loaded at once, even if they are not in the visible section. Hence, it may affect performance when large number of items are concerned. This limitation is removed with the help of lazy column. In lazy column, all the items are loaded at once. Sorry, are not loaded at once. Instead of the items are loaded gradually while the user scrolls the column. This has less impact on performance, and hence it is more efficient than columns. Lazy column does not need any scrollable state to remember the scroll position, whereas standard column were not meant to be scrollable, hence it is needed a scroll state to get the scroll position. So that's it for the session. I hope you enjoyed the one of Jetpack Compose. If you have any doubts regarding any topics discussed in today's session, feel free to ask.
Okay, guys. So this is the end of our first session. I hope we will be sharing the slides with you as well as all the relevant extra resources that you may need while learning the Jetpack Compose. So go through the slides once again, and we will be assigning you with the assignment. It is a simple one-page UI. You need to create it with Jetpack Compose, and what all things you learned today, you will be implementing those only, and you will be given a Google form. So you will be submitting the assignment so that we can have a better record that who is doing or what. And feel free to ask us any doubt in the uh, group. And if comfortable, then you can also DM us. But feel free to explore the Jetpack Compose Although Jetpack Compose is a very new thing, but you can learn these things and have a track that what all things you need to learn to have a better grip on Jetpack Compose. So that's all. I thanks you to present here, and also I hope you will be showing up in the upcoming sessions. And thank you for the thank you for coming. Okay, so let's meet at the next day. Thank you.